Good afternoon. This is Eric Christensen from the National Hurricane Center's Tropical Analysis and Forecast Branch with the latest Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing recorded Thursday, March 20th, valid through Tuesday, March 25th, 2025. The main highlights will be gale warnings with winds in excess of 34 knots in the Gulf of America tonight and in the Caribbean by early Saturday. Strong north winds and rough seas follow a cold front moving through the Gulf of America currently. Winds will reach gale force with seas to 13 feet by tonight over the far southwest Gulf near Veracruz, Mexico. Farther east in the Atlantic, a weakening broad area of low pressure, centered east of Bermuda, continues to produce strong to near gale force winds within 300 nautical miles to the southeast of the low. These winds will result in rough to very rough seas, peaking near 17 feet. Farther south, moderate trade winds are noted across the tropical Atlantic, but with seas to 8 feet and mixed swell primarily to the east of 50 west. Relatively benign marine conditions persist elsewhere. For Friday, strong to near gale force northwest winds and rough to very rough seas follow the cold front off northeast Florida, which will reach from near Bermuda to northwest Cuba. Farther east, the broad low pressure will have lifted out to the northeast, but will leave fresh to strong southwest winds and 8 to 12 foot seas, primarily a northwest swell in its wake. Winds diminish over primarily the western and central Gulf as the high pressure builds over the area, leaving fresh to strong winds and seas to 8 feet over the far eastern Gulf off the coast of Florida. Farther south, moderate to fresh trades and moderate to rough seas persist across the tropical Atlantic. Moderate to fresh winds are noted across the Caribbean, with fresh to strong winds developing off the coast of Colombia with locally rough seas. By early Saturday, high pressure will be building across the Gulf of Mexico and western Atlantic in the wake of the front, which will extend from just east of Bermuda to eastern Cuba. This pattern will support winds to gale force off the coast of Colombia, where rough seas are expected, and fresh to strong winds over the remainder of the basin, except for the northeast Caribbean. Seas of 8 to 11 feet will linger near the front into the southwest of Bermuda, and seas of 8 to 9 feet will persist in the trade wind flow across the tropical Atlantic. Sunday, the front will extend from the north-central Atlantic to Hispaniola, with broad high pressure building in its wake across the western Atlantic into the northeast Gulf of Mexico. This pattern will continue to support winds to gale force with rough to very rough seas off the coast of Colombia and fresh to strong winds elsewhere across the Caribbean basin. Gentle breezes will persist under the high pressure over the western Atlantic. However, lingering swell of 8 to 10 feet will persist southeast of Bermuda. Moderate to fresh trade wind flow and moderate to rough seas will persist over the tropical Atlantic. By Monday, the front will be stalling and dissipating over the central Atlantic, with high pressure shifting a little bit more to the northeast in the wake of the front. Little change in the winds and seas across the region, except winds will probably be below gale force off the coast of Colombia. However, rough to very rough seas will persist. Looking ahead to Tuesday, a weak cold front will have entered the Gulf of America, and the ridge over the Atlantic will have shifted more to the northeast, still supporting a broad area of mostly fresh trade wind flow across the Atlantic with fresh to strong winds over the Caribbean. Locally rough seas can be expected across the Caribbean, although they will have diminished somewhat from Monday, and the area of rough seas and the trade wind flow across the tropical Atlantic will have expanded toward the leeward and windward islands. Summarizing the main weather story for the next several days, we're expecting gale warnings of 34 plus knot winds across the Gulf of America tonight and in the Caribbean by early Saturday. This has been the latest Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing. The next briefing will be Sunday, March 23rd at 5 p.m. You can always get the latest graphics and information at hurricanes.gov/marine.